You know, the details are getting so good, eventually they won't be RCs anymore. Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking a first look, run, well maybe not, and review of the new 12th scale Type 82 Kuppelwagen from Rock Hobby. Rock Hobby is a subsidiary of FMS. That's who sent me this vehicle. I thank them for allowing me to do this review. I think this is a pretty fun looking truck. Vehicle. It's a military vehicle. Second World War, used by the German army, and certainly a unique historical vehicle. This is Volkswagen underneath all of this stuff, and was basically used like the United States military would have used the Willys Jeeps out in the field. Lots of amazing detail, and I think that's what really sets this vehicle apart from others, is the intense attention to all of that detail. There are things on here that are basically exactly the same as they would be on the full-size vehicle, and they really did their homework. There's no doubt about that. It is a portal-based vehicle, just like the real thing. Very flat belly, just like the real thing. Four-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, just like the real thing. Even a full engine motor in the back there. That is pretty cool. In addition to the great exterior, all the panels are well molded, lots of detail even into the tires and wheels, and the suspension is all quite accurate to the real thing. It's got a full light kit, including, and I'll try to turn that on for you. There is a little light underneath there that also goes on. So lots of attention to detail in terms of light kit and the actual design and execution of this body. The seats are padded. Believe it or not, that's actual real padding in there, so that's pretty cool. There's also compartments that you can put stuff in. You can actually see part of the engine back there. The seat goes down, so if you've got, you gotta bring your snowboards with you, there's room back there for those too. It is a very well-detailed vehicle, and it's pretty unique. I've never seen anything quite like this in an RC format, and I think that's where FMS and Rock Hobby are trying to set themselves apart. Attention to detail, great looking hard bodies, all of the everythings, in fact, and it's pretty great. I'm not going to deny it, that fact. One other final touch that Rock Hobby decided to do with this vehicle is put the power button on the dashboard. And it's essentially where you would expect it to be, and it's impossible to reach with my giant fingers. Oh, there we go. Got it. But excellent detail. Man, oh man, they did a really nice job on this. The manual that comes with the Type 82 is fantastic. There is a ton of history all about this vehicle. You learn all about all the bits and pieces, how it was constructed, where it was constructed, and some of the more minutia that you wouldn't expect, like that's where the ignition coil is. The only thing that I think these vehicles have sort of forgotten about is the fact that they need to actually drive outside. And while this is a military vehicle and intended for being used off roads in real life, the performance of this truck isn't fantastic, but it does have a good first and second gear. First gear is much more of a crawler gear, and that's manipulated via the radio that's included. If you've got any of the FMS 18 scale or 12 scale vehicles, this remote is going to be very familiar to you. The lights are switched via the channel 4 button, and that is also the way that you switch from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive. You have to hold that button down. And you will hear the servo switch. And now it should be running in rear-wheel drive only. And it is. So let's go back to four-wheel drive. And there we go. Excellent. So there is a transfer case. There is a servo that operates that two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive manipulation. There is also speeds. There is a first gear, which I think we're in right now. Actually, that might be a higher gear. And that's going to give you lots of get up and go. That's a lot of wheel shake. It is... In that lower gear, though, I think it would high center itself. That's going to be sort of the disadvantage to a vehicle like this. Once you get into the ultra scale accuracy, you're going to lose performance. It's just natural. Is this intended to be a rock crawler? Absolutely not. The best way to describe this release and some of the other ones from FMS, this is an excellent scale model that happens to be an RC car as well. And I think that's worth remembering. You're buying this mostly for the looks. If you're buying this for performance, you will be disappointed. It's just, you know, and I'm not saying anything that's out of the realm of reality. I think that's pretty fair. It's going to look great, though, in photos, out on the trails, and because of all these great details and the fact that it is 12 scale, you can get drivers that fit and look quite good in there. This is Stan Lee from, you know, Marvel Comics. He's a real man, was a real man, and I thought he looked pretty darn good in there. I did have to trim his legs off in order to fit properly, but darn if he doesn't look good. And the other great thing about this model is that the steering wheel turns with the wheels. You can maybe see that. Let's get a better angle of that. There we go. That'll do. And that's pretty nice. Accurate suspension on this vehicle doesn't make for a great driving experience. It is quite bouncy, as you can see. There's sometimes it just bottoms out because these are torsion bars, metal torsion bars handling the suspension back there, just like the real thing. And the same thing up front. It just kind of plops. Overall, it is an excellent looking vehicle. And if you're into military stuff and military models, this 12th scale will work pretty well with some of the other military stuff out there. Not the tanks so much. Those are 16th scale, so these are going to look pretty huge compared to them. Instead of doing a typical running video like I normally would, I think we're going to focus our attention on actually weathering this vehicle and making it look more appropriate to the age that it would be. We're not going to dent it or anything, but we are going to add some weathering details to help really make this thing come alive. Because it just looks, to me, too clean. It's too clean right now. We need to muck it up a bit. Oh, another cool thing on that motor, and we'll see if we can get a good shot of it. There we go. That's pretty good. As you accelerate, things back there move. That's kind of cool, huh? So I think the best way that we can summarize this is by saying that it is an excellent looking model that just happens to be an RC car. Is that enough of a reason to pick it up? It all depends on your interests and your desire to own something as unique as this Kübelwagen. That's the best way I can put it. It certainly looks good. I think we're going to make it look better, though. So let's get to that. So the Type 82 comes with a little protective film over the window. We're going to use that to make the wiper, you know, pattern. So we can show some dirt, but the wipers would have wiped most of that away. So using a little Sharpie here, cut these little templates out and stick them back on. That way when we airbrush, we're not going to ruin the finish underneath those little templates. And I started by airbrushing the whole model with this Vallejo Model Air airbrush paint, and it's basically the same color gray that the truck already is. With the idea here that we're sort of laying down a base coat on which we can apply some additional techniques. For me, I just want to have that base coat, and it also helps kind of vary the paint so it's not all exactly the same color, just to give it a bit of age. I even went in and did the whole engine bay too, because there's a lot of stuff we're going to be doing with that. We're going to use some of this brown engine soot to sort of give some depth and coloration to the entire engine bay. And this just kind of helps pick out some of the details. And once that's done, I'm going to use my rust texture. This is one of my favorite elements from Vallejo. And this really actually does give you that rusty texture. It looks fantastic. I'm using a very fine brush because this isn't a huge model. It does require a little bit of finesse, but with these weathering effects you can be sort of liberal in the application and it won't really make a difference. So you can see it's already looking quite aged. I'm doing the mufflers too. They wouldn't have been stainless. I doubt anything would have been stainless at this point in history, but just knocking those back a little bit, making them feel a lot more realistic and look a lot less plasticky. Also, Citadel Nun Oil, it's one of my favorite washes. I'm using that to just pick out some details on all these little vents on the back here. It's going to dry and leave a nice kind of depth to it. Now this technique, this is chipping, traditional chipping. I'm using a steel paint from Vallejo and a very fine brush, and I'm just making some very light, small movements around all of the areas where they would normally typically get worn or used. So like any of the corners, any of the handles, any of the raised pieces where they would be constantly putting little bit like pieces of luggage or whatever, or weapons or whatever you might have. That's where they're going to be like putting stuff, and it's going to scrape off of paint. So that's chipping. One of my favorite techniques and super easy to do. Now I'm going over with a slightly lighter gray just to, again, muddle that paint out a little bit, give it a more of a dusty texture, just to kind of weather it further. Now some splashed mud. This is another technique from Vallejo. I'm just using an old toothbrush that I obviously don't brush my teeth with anymore, and I'm just flicking the ends of the bristles to kind of create that spray or that mud splatter that you would typically see. And that'll always stay looking wet, which is kind of cool. That is a pigment. I've had it forever. I don't know where it came from. I don't remember why I bought it, but I like to use it on tires just to kind of make them feel as if they've been used. Super dark black tires aren't going to look right on this completely weathered vehicle, so we're going to knock those back a little bit, and you'll see that's before and that's after. And so there you go. That's sort of a look at all the techniques there all at once. I think it looks a lot better, honestly. It's not as factory fresh as it comes out of the box, and this just adds a little bit of character, which I think is sort of important for what is probably one of the better looking RC models that I've got in the collection. So my thanks to FMS/Rock Hobby for providing this for this review and this little demo. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks really great on the shelf. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Much appreciated. We will definitely be doing more of these sorts of technique videos where we show off a couple of techniques, and hopefully you'll learn a little something along the way too. That's always sort of the goal here, and I just love sharing this hobby with you, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. If you liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon.